Hey guys, J Hams Models back with you. Here's my second video. Going to be doing a Turkish Demo Team F-16. Going to be using this Hasegawa kit. I did already start this a while ago, so you'll see in here some of these parts, uh, like the gear bay doors are already closed off because I am going to be doing this in flight. So I'm going to have the acrylic rod run through the back instead of through the bottom. Got some decals for it. I'm going to use the pilot figure. I wish I would have got like an aftermarket pilot figure, but you know what? I'm going to do this one out of the box. Um, Definitely not going to be using a lot of these parts like the tanks and the weapons and stuff, um, just because it's a demo team build. But doing it gloss black and everything is going to be really nice. Really looking forward to this build. Just cleaning up some parts here off the sprue. I really do love these God Hands nippers that I got. Um, you're able to get really close to the plastic, so there's not a lot of sanding that you have to do. But I'm just getting these prepped up because I am going to paint these just so I can close the two halves together. So I got to get the cockpit and this upper half prepped and primed. Well, if you watched my first video and you're coming back, as you can see, I've moved my camera into my spray booth so I can show you some of my airbrushing. But as it turns out, I'm still working on focusing issues. So you get to see my airbrush cap in focus a lot. But yeah, I'm working on that. Still learning, guys. Bear with me. I also think the tinfoil in there, trying to keep my booth clean, is actually not, helping the focus issues. So on the next video, or even on part 2 of this one, because this is actually a long video. It was like an hour, and I've edited it down to half an hour. So on part 2, I'm going to have this hopefully fixed, and a little bit better quality for you guys to watch. I went really in depth in this. I filmed a lot of stuff. I don't know what's boring and what's exciting to you guys. So, if you want to let me know in the comments, if you want me to be a little bit more in depth and show everything, or that would really help me out, just so I can kind of gauge what you guys are interested in. As we're moving on here, just to let you guys know, like the F-16 is like my favorite build. I could probably build an F-16 for everything, never do anything else. I just love them that much. Grew up around them here at Hill Air Force Base here in Utah. We had a big squadron of F-16s. So I saw them all the time. My dad worked on them. He used to take me to work with them, and I'd, get to see them up close. They even let me sit in one once, and that was probably the best day of my life. But yeah, I absolutely love the F-16. So I really kind of want to do this one justice, even though it's not the best kit. I know there's a lot of people out there that like Hasegawa and stuff like that. This is actually my first Hasegawa F-16. Usually I just do Tamiya. I want it to look the best, so always use the best. But we're seeing how this goes. It definitely has some fit issues as we go along. But I'm really excited about the decals that I got. The paint scheme's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, hopefully it won't be all that bad. We're laying down some highlights here on these front panels and back here on this rear panel. I've seen some pictures where they're not really worn down, then I've seen some pictures where they are. I'm assuming with it being a demo team, they really take care of this jet. So probably not going to be that bad. But I still want to do something. I don't want it to just be, one consistent color of black. I think that's pretty boring. And I just assume, especially with the cockpit glass and stuff, it's just going to act like a magnifying glass and just really tear up that paint and sun bleach it really bad. So I wanted to represent that. Now I'm just putting some NATO black over the highlights. I didn't want to do straight black. I also didn't want to cover up the highlights too much, so you want to make sure some of that shows through, or else all that work you just did is just for nothing. So you'll see here. I could have gone farther with it, I could have put more detail. I could have done wires and all that back here, but with the canopy being closed, I don't even think you'd really see it or really even notice. So, um, I mean, I wanted to go far with this build and make it look as good as possible, but I also, I didn't want to spend, 6 months doing this. This is actually for a group build, so I'm on a time limit. They gave us an extra month, but it's got to be due in October of this year, so I need to have this done by then, hopefully. This is actually my first group build too, so I was kind of excited to do it with these guys. Um, Here I'm highlighting the pilot figure. Um, what's really nice about this pilot figure is that he does fit pretty good. Like I don't have to Lieutenant Dan his legs. He actually fits in there. I do have to sand the seat down to get it to fit. I can't remember if I left that in this video or not. Yeah, he's able to walk after he lands and everything, so that's always a plus. Moving on, now we're actually laying some paint down over this primer. This is MRP's Cockpit Gray. It's actually a really nice color. I like to use it when I use the Quinta Studios 3D decals. It's a pretty okay match. But here on this one, we're just going to do it straight out of the box. I actually have been working on, hand painting my panels and switches and stuff, as opposed to just relying on just the 3D decals. I mean, they look, I think 100 times better, but I'm just trying to get my skills a little bit better. Because I started using the Quinta Studios and all the aftermarket stuff pretty much from the beginning. So I kind of skipped this part of my model building, trying to get these panels look good by hand. But, with it being in flight and the pilot figure in there, you're not really going to see a whole lot. So I definitely didn't go as far into detail as, if it was going to be with the cockpit open. And you'd be able to look in there and see all the switches and stuff. Here I just kind of do like a basic, this is a AK Markers rubber black. I'm just going to paint this up real quick. This kit inside the cockpit actually does have really good detail. I've seen far worse. So even if I was going to do it with the cockpit open, I probably would have done more steps to get this looking legit. I could have done something really good with it. I don't think I do a bad job, but with the pilot in there, it's just kind of not worth it. So I got both sides of those painted up. I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing. I think I'm using German gray right here. Got a little dry brush, just get all that excess paint off. And then just kind of lightly brush this on here, and I'll bring up the details. It's kind of hard to see as it builds up, but you do see it. I wish I would have known about this technique when I was a kid. Everything was just black. But this gives it that used look, that worn look, like it's, it's not a museum piece. And then I'll go back over and just paint some of the switches. Again, I don't go all out. I know there's more colors than just what I use. Like I don't use any red or anything here in the cockpit. There you can see the difference between something that's dry brush and not. Once I get it in focus, there you go. I really love this step. Now I'm just going to take me a little toothpick here, pick out a couple of these buttons and switches and really bring them out. Again, I know there's other colors like red in there. I see some people use yellow. I would never use yellow. I know there's a couple switches that are red, but with the pilot in there, again, you're not going to see much. I probably could have just left this dry brushed and it would have been fine. But I thought it'd be nice to pick a couple of these out, make it look legit, make it look like, something resembling an F-16 cockpit. I don't go through with like weathering and stuff, like the like the floors, stuff like that. I might put up some pictures of my other builds that I've done, where I do really go all out, so you can see that I do know what I'm doing when it comes to an F-16, kind of. So here, I wanted to, with the visor here on the pilot, the pictures I seen, they have like that orangey kind of reflective surface to it. So here, we'll try to replicate that. I'm just putting I believe this is silver chrome. I'm gonna spray some chrome over it. Again, not in focus. I'm sorry about that. But I just lay down a layer of silver so I can get that reflectiveness. And then I'm gonna go over it with this is a clear orange. It's Tamiya's clear orange. I lay that down. Um, Again, you'll just have to trust me because it's not in focus and you won't be able to see it. So clear orange, and then I go over it with some clear purple. Here I'm putting the purple on, and it gives it that look I was going for. I do tone down the purple a little bit. I go back over it with the clear orange, and I'll put some pictures up. And this is before like the gloss. I ended up putting clear smoke over it too and everything. This is what I came up with after putting the orange back over it. Moving right along here, I'm actually going to spray the pilot himself. Those highlights here, I'm putting down this is also the NATO black. You'll see in a minute how I break up the black. I do two different tones of black to kind of break it up a little bit since they are just all black, and I didn't want them to just be plain sitting in there. I wanted to make it look like I did a little bit of effort on the inside. So yeah, I did the top half like NATO black. And then here I'm doing this G suit. And this is just Vallejo black. So it has a nice contrast between the two. And then I go back through and I dry brush and weather it. And you'll see all this coming up. But I'm not the best brush painter. But lately I have been doing a lot of pilot figures. So I've been really working on it, trying to get better. I do have a build coming up, a 1/32 build that I'm going to be doing some pilot figures for. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But yeah, 148 is really hard, especially these really low resolution pilots that usually come with the kit. They're not that great. Even the Tamiya kits, I mean, they're fine, but in comparison to like Reed Oak or any of the aftermarket stuff, like they just don't hold up compared to those. So again, I think he looks the part. Probably not going to win any awards for figure painting on this guy, but again, doing the best I can, guys. Figuring it out. That's what I want to do with this channel. Is like not only am I learning, every time I build something, I learn something new or I try something new. So just kind of want to show you guys my process. Maybe you'll learn from it. Maybe not. Maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong. I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm happy to hear some critiques. I think we grow from critiques. It's all in how you take it. So if anybody's got a critique, go ahead and send them my way. One of the main things that I don't like about the stock figures that usually come with kits, especially this one, is like I don't think that the hands are in proportion. I think that the hands are way too big for this guy. But I mean, it is what it is. But one of the advantages of the stock kits as opposed to aftermarket pilot figures is that they come in pieces. Like the head comes separate, the arms usually come separate. It's real nice being able to have the head off to where you can paint it separate like this. It just makes things a lot easier without having that oxygen hose, running throughout the body. You definitely just have to do things a different way. Like you have to go about your painting, how you're going to do things. I like to plan things out um, when I use the aftermarket pilot figures. Otherwise, you'll end up with brush strokes and different colors everywhere, and you have to be doing a lot of touch-ups and stuff like that. Um, so I do like them coming in pieces, just for the painting process. Um, it just makes it a little bit easier for me. Here I pulled out the old Tamiya German gray again. Um, Doing a little dry brushing on the sky. I really want to pick out those folds in the clothes or his uniform, because the light would definitely hit certain spots certain ways, and also that it's going to break up the black. Um, I mean, it doesn't necessarily look black when it's all said and done, but um, I think it's better than it being just one tone of black. Here I've pulled out the Mr. Hobby Mr. Weathering color, multi black. Just putting this all, not really dousing the figure in it, but just kind of strategically putting it here, um, to really bring out the folds. I want to bring out the shadows, to accent the highlights, um, and it does bring more of that black out, so it doesn't look so gray. Um, this stuff is really great. Just put it on, let it dry, and then you go over it with I use the white spares, the AK white spares, to get this stuff off. I also did his hands green, and I put a green weathering fluid over that to darken those up a little bit. Here he is before it's all taken off. Here I am painting that Turkish flag patch on his left arm, with my AK markers. I do paint the moon and the star in there, but I don't show you that process. Now, this was part of the kit that made me really wish that I was doing a Tamiya kit as opposed to this Hasegawa kit. If anybody's ever built this, they probably know what I'm talking about. This intake is just not good. Um, the way it goes together, there's really nothing behind it, so I painted it black. Um, but here, where the two pieces fit together, there was like a gap, so I'm gonna fill this gap, but also I didn't want to spend the typical, you know, 3 days to a week, sanding the intakes out. So here I'm going to try a different method that I've never used before. Um, I'm using the Tamiya white putty, and what I did was I just put it in there with a toothpick and then smooth it out as good as I can. And now I'm going over it with lacquer thinner. Once it's dried, um, you're able to just run that over it and get rid of the excess, and it actually turned out really good. It was a lot easier. Didn't take me as long. It's not perfect, um, but going for perfection on this build, just I just didn't see it was worth it. Um, I guess that's just me, but yeah, it actually turned out pretty good. But this isn't the first problem that I had, or the last problem I have with this intake. You'll see some more coming up. Um, so once I got that all smoothed out, I sprayed it with some primer. And then one of the issues that I always have with intakes is that because the air doesn't really escape all that well, since it dries up in there and it gets all textured and So I always end up having to go in there and sand it out before I paint. So here I am, and I'm actually using a Q-tip to get some leverage on that sandpaper. If you ever have this problem, just go ahead and get a stick or something, get you some leverage on that, and be able to press down, and your sanding will go a lot smoother. Now I'm putting it on here. There was a gap here. I think you'll see me fill this gap too. Same method. I just use the Tamiya white putty and then lacquer thinner to get it off. I don't know how smooth it is yet because I haven't laid primer down on the whole thing yet. But yeah, this didn't fit great. Yeah, here I am laying down the white putty. There's a few places on this build that have not really fit that good. The landing gear doors, they did not fit good. But I mean, that's a lot of kits don't want you to put the landing gear closed and in flight, so they don't make it easy for you. But some of the kits now are making it so that you can do it in flight, and they actually give you pieces to make it look better. But yeah, I mean, I do my best. The good thing about this one was like it doesn't come with all the details on there yet, so like it's easy to get to it and clean it all up and make it look good. Since I'm not using the tanks or any of the ordnance, I wanted to fill these holes, and I didn't want to use like putty or sprue goo because I didn't want to worry about shrinkage and having to deal with that, and then losing all the detail on the wing and having to re-scribe and re-rivet. So I just put some styrene, some I can't remember what size this is, but just some styrene tube, put it in these holes, glue it down, um, let it dry, and then you'll see here coming up, I use a flexible blade. Just get these cut as close as I can with my nippers, with these God Hands nippers. They get it pretty close. But this bendable blade right here, it really comes in handy sometimes. Like I don't use it a whole lot because I don't need to, but when I do use it, I'm glad that I bought this because you're able to get things flush with minimal effort. So I didn't have to do a whole lot of sanding on here, thank goodness. Because after all the sanding and stuff that I do on the intake, like I really want to waste a whole lot of time here on the wings. It just gets old real fast. So I did decide that I wanted to do the center line tank on this build. Just kind of break up that bottom part of the aircraft a little bit. Also might hide any imperfections from the gear bay doors not fitting so well. So here I am. I've already glued the two halves together. There was quite a step in between the two, so I had to get that down. I don't want to waste time with sanding it right away. Taking up a lot of time with that, so I use my scraper tool here. It gets a lot of material down real fast. This little tool's worth its weight in gold. I use it for a lot of things, so just scraping this ledge off here on both sides, on the top and the bottom, and then I'll get going on the sanding. Usual sanding process. Start at 400 grit, work my way up to 3000 grit. Really smooth it out. Also, this tank did have some raised details. I ended up losing them in the sanding process because there's just real no way to avoid it. So I just ended up getting rid of all of them altogether. It's fine. I think it'll look really good. After the sanding, it's definitely seamless. Like you would never know there was two separate parts. Working my way up to 3000 grit, I feel like it's a good stopping point. Now I'm going to take these kit AIM-9 sidewinders and I'm going to modify them to make what they call smoke winders. You see a lot of demo jets, they have these on their wingtip pylons. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off all these details, cut those front wings off. I don't know if you saw the one that shot off there at the speed of sound still somewhere on my desk. But yeah, just get these all smooth. I'm going to sand it. You notice I keep it in motion the entire time. I keep spinning that as I sand it. I don't want to create any flat spots on there. So just keeping it in motion, going through the different grits on this sanding stick makes it pretty easy. But this was a fast, easy modification to get these. I think they're really going to look the part. Thinking ahead on this build, I kind of want to try to experiment with getting like the wing vortices. I want to make it look like this thing's really pulling some G's, but I'm also thinking about doing the same with those smoke winders, seeing if I can have like some smoke coming out. But I don't want to use like typical cotton. I see people use cotton buds, or not cotton buds, like just cotton balls. They stretch it out. I think I might try to pull the cotton off some Q-tips, see if I can get that to work and look a little bit better. But we'll see later on in part 2 how that works out. So now moving on here to the exhaust nozzle. This part of the build was actually pretty disappointing to me. The detail that is on the inside of here is not great. It's really lacking detail. The fit, it just doesn't look great, and there are some injector pins down in there. But it was going to be too much of a hassle to really get rid of those, so I just kind of left them there. With the acrylic rod going in here through the exhaust nozzle, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, so I still try. I'm going to do some weathering on it and everything, but here I am. I've already sprayed down like it was like a cream color. Then I did some brown. Now here I am putting the black on there. Just give it that burnt look. Make it look like some flames have been through here. Normally I do like using aftermarket nozzle kits to get that detail, because people really do like to look down in there, and I like showing the detail down inside the exhaust nozzle. But again, doing this one out of the box, I'm just doing the best with what I got. This is NATO black that I'm putting in there. I will go back over it with some oils and everything. I do mask this off. So like when I spray the gloss black, which you'll see here in a minute, the gloss black and the metallic colors that I put on there, I don't want to have a thick buildup of paint on other places. So right behind the exhaust, there's a part that's a part of the body. So I didn't want to have that, full up with metallic paint and then try to paint over it. It just looks thick and all that. So I mask it off a couple times. And then there's a ring around the exhaust. I mask that too. And at one point, pulling off the masking tape, it actually pulled off some of my metallic paint. So I had to do some touch-ups and all that. Here I'm spraying the first metallic over the gloss black. It's beryllium. And I always use AK Extremes. I really like their metallic paints. They go on really good. No fuss. You don't have to thin it or anything. It's just ready to go. And that's the kind of paints that I like using. I like using things that are just good to go. Don't have to mess around with them a lot. Here I'm putting some pale burnt metal on here. Again, using my chameleon, I'm able to get close and get these details. And I'm just kind of feathering it out, kind of giving it that heat look. So it's a little bit more hot, towards the back end, and then as it goes outwards, it's kind of cooled off. So we'll leave that looking a little bit more stainless color. And then I did go over it again, which is regular burnt metal, but I don't show you that process. So we're coming up here to the end of this video. I think splitting this up into 2 parts is a good idea. Part 2, we're going to be doing the paint work, the decals. The decals are what's going to be the main thing I'd like to show you guys. There's some pretty big decals, and it's what's going to make or break this build. So I appreciate you guys coming, checking this out. Hopefully we'll see you back for part 2. Have a good one.